name's Chef Joel of Joel Chophouse here at the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. And today we're going to be making mushroom risotto, which is on the menu here in our restaurant. So here I've got some oyster mushrooms. We're going to be cutting these up for our mushroom risotto. You don't want to cut them up too small because kind of tearing them apart in nice little pieces here is perfect. You get a really nice saute on them when you put them in there. Today we're going to make the risotto in a traditional Italian version. It's all about getting the texture of the rice, the nice cook on the rice, the creamy texture of it. There's an Italian word called mantecatura, which is basically the word for emulsion. You're making this creamy sauce that's almost in between these rice granules. Usually you finish with a little bit of butter and Parmesan cheese at the end and you stir it really, really quickly, and that's how you make that beautiful, creamy mantecatura style risotto. I prefer oyster mushrooms for this because it's just such a nice, versatile mushroom. They saute really nicely in the pan. Shallots are kind of a milder onion. It's a little sweeter. In the restaurants, we'll use a lot of shallots for little things like this, just because you get that delicate flavor, a little bit of sweetness. And like I was saying before, the garlic and the shallots with the mushrooms is almost kind of like this flavor affinity together that just tastes really good. A lot of people think they don't like onions because one time they bit into a cheeseburger that had a big piece of onion on it and it was too strong for them. Butter is almost always a secret ingredient, I think. But you gotta know how to use it right. You can't just drench every single thing in butter. You're gonna see when we finish the risotto, we're gonna add a little bit of cold butter at the end, and it's gonna create that emulsification effect, or the mantecatura as they call it in Italian. This pot is actually perfectly designed for risotto because of the arches on the side of the pot, kind of the way that it's shaped. Once we get the rice in there cooking later, we're gonna really be able to stir it and get that full effect. What you're doing is rubbing those little rice grains together the whole time when you're cooking it. You never wash rice for risotto because you want all the starches on there, and when you're cooking it, you want to keep stirring it and kind of rubbing those starches off, and those starches are going to almost thicken all the other liquids and stuff that we put in there. So when you have this perfectly cooked rice at the end and this beautiful creamy sauce with all of those starches that have been rubbed off the rice the whole time during cooking. Start to finish, we're looking at about 20 to 25 minutes start to finish. And then typically when you're making risotto the traditional way, you want to cover it in liquid 3 different times. For me, the first time you cover it in liquid, I like to do just white wine. You could use different kinds of wine depending on what you're making, but today we're going to use white wine. And then you're going to let the wine soak into the rice first, you're going to let it cook away, and then after that we're going to cover it 2 more times. Today we're using a little bit of vegetable stock. Any kind of stock works fine. Chicken stock for a nice mushroom risotto like this, even beef stock will work really good. Just depends on what kind of flavor you want, but today we got a little vegetable stock and it's going to taste amazing. So as we're toasting here, you can start to see some of the rice kernels starting to get a little bit of golden brown color on them. The toasted pepper or even the butter starting to brown a little bit, so you're just starting to develop those layers of flavors. That's kind of what risotto is all about, is building it in layers. So I think we're about ready to add our first liquid addition, which is going to be a little bit of white wine. Kind of a lot of white wine actually. So there's about a cup of rice in there, and we're going to do about another cup of white wine. Now once you add the liquid, you can see the color of that kind of golden brown starting to come off already because we did a really nice toast on there. So you can see the flavor developing already. But while we're letting this simmer, because this is going to be a little bit of a process, we can actually start to saute our mushrooms. I like to use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Nice pieces of oyster mushrooms here. We're going to add these to the pot and just start to give a really nice saute on here. Same kind of method as the rice. You want to caramelize it a little bit. You want to get a little bit of color on there. You want to start to develop those layers of flavor. Now you can get the aroma of that wine coming off here with that toasted rice. It's really amazing. You can see all the liquid is dried up now, and it's kind of starting to create that little bit of a thick sauce in there. We still have a lot of liquid left to go. Really, the name of the game is just adding enough liquid so that all of the rice kernels are covered. So this is perfect over here now. You can see that nice golden brown mushroom starting to occur over there. That's actually called the Maillard reaction. It's the same thing that makes a steak look so good when it's cooked. Every single step of the dish is developing flavor, adding seasonings, adding something to it, so when it comes together at the end, you're going to taste all of those nuances together, and it's going to be an amazing dish. And like I said, we had this on the menu in the Chop House. So we're going to let the butter kind of melt on the edge of the pan right there. And in that butter, we're going to cook some shallots. Let it cook not too hot because we don't want to burn them. We want them to kind of caramelize a little bit. So those diced shallots and a little bit of that nice garlic. That is a beautiful flavor combination with those mushrooms and the butter and the garlic and the shallots. Now, Time for our third addition of liquid. It's gonna be a little bit more volume of stock we're gonna add to it, but after this, it should be perfect. All of the rice kernels are just kind of barely covered with the liquid, so now we're gonna let it simmer nice and slow. A good secret for risotto for me is using more wine than you think you'd need to. You get the sweetness and you get the acidity, everything that really balances the rice in the end. So we're almost done with that risotto. We've got our rice, it's pretty much fully cooked. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add all of our mushrooms in here. Mushrooms with that garlic and shallots and all of that flavor. That's gonna get finished in here and it's gonna soak up all that flavor into the rice. It does need a little bit more liquid for the emulsion, so I'm gonna say about 2 more ladles. Let's say 3 ladles, 2.5. So this is the secret that I was talking about earlier too, stirring. And you can see, I'm using a spoon that doesn't have any sharp edges on it. I'm not using a metal spoon, because this spoon is gonna not cut those kernels of rice like some would. And the shape of this pot is perfect because as I'm stirring the rice, you're rubbing those kernels of rice against each other and against the side of the pot and against the spoon. More of that starch is coming off and you can actually see that sauce, that liquid that's in there, thickening up a little bit from that. You know, I've got this hot, it's on the stove right now. I'm gonna take it off the stove before I finish it. You don't wanna add cheese to something that's simmering because the cheese is actually gonna cook and coagulate. It's nice Parmesan cheese, Romano cheese. And the same thing with the butter. The butter goes in cold because that change in temperature is gonna facilitate that emulsion. Let me show you. So this is an ingredient that we use in the restaurant, tartufata, which is a traditional Italian truffle paste. So this is made with truffles and cremini mushrooms, a little bit of cheese, touch of parsley. There's actually a touch of anchovy in there. The anchovy just kind of adds umami flavor to it and it accentuates all the truffle flavor that's in there. Next, we're gonna add some cold butter to it. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil as well. So a lot of Italian dishes are finished really nicely with extra virgin olive oil. And then last but not least, we're gonna get a nice handful of this Parmesan and Romano cheese mixture. I like to use Parmesan Reggiano mixed with a little Pecorino Romano. So this is the Montecatura action I was talking about. We're creating that emulsion, we're creating that creaminess, that butter is melting. We gotta stir this for about a minute now. Amazing. All right, I think we're done. The truffle, the mushroom, the layers of flavor with the wine. Oh, that's amazing. Very good. I'm gonna put this on a plate. Watch the risotto slowly melt down into the plate. Finish it off, we'll give it a little garnish of Parmesan cheese, a little sprinkle of our freshly chopped parsley. Wild mushroom and truffle risotto here at Joel's Chophouse.